Hello and welcome back. We're going to pick up right where we left off. We just made our cobblestone generator and fireproofed it. Have our Tinker's tool stations. And in the spirit of making a Yume Nikki themed world, I have changed my skin to Urotsuki, the protagonist of that game. So where we left off, we need to get a bit more cobble. We need this to sort of spread out our island. Eventually we want to get underneath it so we can harvest up that dirt, spread it out a bit more because we're going to need to grow a lot more trees. Fortunately, current situation, we can only really grow one at a time effectively. Perhaps during later videos, I might try to montage or cut this off camera, but now there's enough stuff to talk about, so I can fill this space. So, our main goal right now is to get that dirt, spread it out, and eventually, according to this guidebook, we are going to need to make crooks, which they are much more effective at getting saplings, but they also allow us to get silkworms, which is a valuable source of string, which will gate us into getting just about every other resource in the very useful device known as a sieve. Oh yes, there's one more thing we can make while we're doing this. So we're going to take barrel, or we'll take our wood, make it into the shape of a barrel. No, wait, it's not quite the right pattern. We need a slab at the bottom. We make it in the shape like this. This will give us an oak barrel. This, we can place it here. Put in a bunch of saplings or decaying materials to compost it to get more dirt. We'll go ahead and get a jump on that because we're going to spend a lot of time trying to get a lot of dirt, both for function and for decoration. But hopefully, for too long, I'll be able to have it semi-automated. But enough cobble. Start building underneath. So this is enough to get a good start. So just gotta be really careful about this. If you're a little overzealous about placing blocks, you can very easily put yourself in a position where you cut off the water and you fall to your demise. There we go. Fantastic. Right. Just gonna start to build a little pathway right under here. I said last episode, we're not too worried about aesthetics. That's something we can focus on later. But just getting some function. So we're just making this so the dirt doesn't fall into the abyss. All right. There we are. I think it would probably be prudent to make some torches as well. So we're starting to expand a little bit. Monsters can't directly spawn too close to you, but it's always a good idea. Here we have our saplings that composted into dirt. Let's place one here. Let's make a furnace. So the recipe has changed a little bit. So instead of getting a full furnace, we're going to get a slab furnace like this. So it works just like a normal furnace, but for certain crafting recipes that need a furnace, you need to make a full one. How do you do that? Well, it takes a lot more cobblestone, which that's not going to be too much of an issue later on once we automate this, but still it's a bit beyond our means. Okay, so we can go here to our tool station to repair our pickaxe, just like that. No anvil required. All right, need some more wood. Let's grow this up a bit. All right, excellent. I'm going to make another tool. So let's get this lined up here and this here. Actually, you know what? Here's what I'll do instead. We're going to use this magnificent item called a chicken stick. It may look quite silly, but it is in fact a godsend to the early game. It is a hammer, so instead of breaking a block with a pickaxe and it drops cobblestone, we get gravel instead, which is very useful. This chicken stick has no durability. It is an endless hammer. A little bit of gravel. Get some flint. So, demonstrate the different materials of Tinker's Construct. There we go, there's one. I want to get 3. So, this is a more early version of Tinker's Construct. I believe the later versions have each material with their own unique properties. But in this one, only some of them have unique properties. But, for instance, stone has the property stonebound, which as its durability decreases, its mining speed increases, but at the same time, its damage also falls off. Okay, let's take a look at something here. So we can take a look at the stats of each material here. So flint, durability 171, has a mining speed of 5.25, and has a handle modifier. Handle modifiers, they apply only to things like tool rods or tough rods. So if you have like the high handle modifier, it will multiply its durability by that. So, for example, durability modifier 1, that's basic. This guy is a handle modifier 0.7. That's not too great. But let's compare and contrast to this stone. So it has so as we see, stone has a lower mining speed and a lower durability, which means flint is just about better all around. Yeah, flint is a better all around material. Same thing, so we're going to make a shovel head, axe head, and then we're going to make it a pickaxe head. This is the cool thing about Tinker's tools. You can replace the parts. So, for instance here, we can take our pickaxe, put the other pickaxe head, slip right on there, improving our pickaxe. We're going to make not a shovel, not an axe. We're going to make something called a mattock, which is a wonderful combination of shovel, axe, and hoe. Later on, I'm probably going to make another mattock. Sorry, not another mattock, but probably maybe another hatchet or another shovel for reasons we'll get into later, but that's not really relevant right now. Let's get some charcoal going. Get a bit more cobblestone. Let's check on this right here. There we go. And good time, too, because it's starting to turn night. Now, the early game of Skyblock mod packs like this are very grindy. Mine a bunch of cobblestone, sieve a bunch of gravel, hammer things out. Right. Got enough to make some torches. Handy dandy thing about this mod pack is you can press F7. You can see where monsters can spawn. So yellow means they can spawn at night. Red means they can spawn at any time. There we go. Right. Cobble, so we can spread out this island. Actually, I think I'm going to do quick cut. So I'll dig some cobble and we'll pick up from there. All right, and I am back. And we are 4¼ stacks richer of cobble. So let's go ahead and expand our island a bit. Now I will montage or cut away when I sieve things or when I'm mining cobblestone, doing something repetitive and I just don't really have much to say about it. But when I'm building, I will always continue stream unless it's something pretty monotonous, but I want to show the progression of this island the best I can. So let's get us a nice big platform to throw things on. Although always kind of agitated me that the island isn't quite above sea level, so that if you jump in a weird spot, get a bright blue flash of light. But I could see using that to my advantage in later builds. Oh yes, I forgot to turn the music back on. So, those of you unaware, this is a mod pack for 1.7.10. This was one of the first versions I played on. I started with 1.6.4. And I remember when 1.7.10 came out, added many new biomes, such as dark oak forests, flower forests, savannas, mesas. Very nice, memorable update. One of the last big ones Mojang made. Because update after that was 1.8, which added guardians, banners, and mutton, I believe. Which, those are all nice, well enough features, but didn't quite shake up Minecraft world that much, as opposed to other updates. After that, Microsoft got a hold of it. They've been making their own updates, which I'd say kind of a mixed bag. Some of the things I really enjoy, some of them I enjoy in concept, but their implementation could be better. And others I'm just kind of dubious of. So, for instance, the end update was pretty nice. I just wish there had a bit like more stuff to it. I don't mind the combat update. I know that was very controversial at the time, but I think it was needed. the 1.13 aquatic update was a lifesaver. It was absolutely like revolutionary. Really hard to go back to versions before that, this one included. And it was 1.16 Village and Pillage. That one was also a very good update. I like the villagers and the jobs. It makes it very cozy, but I disagree with like some of the implementation because it feels a bit too cheap. Like if you find a village, you've basically won. Like you have a crap ton of food. You can do the villager glitch, make the cure and affect them so that all their traits are 1 emerald. I just don't really like that. Maybe if they had like shifting pools every once in a while, so that their traits will change. Maybe that prevents mending books from being gotten too easily. But I would also just like it if anvils didn't use XP to repair, or had like an upward XP limit. But we don't have to worry about any of that in this mod pack. Let's get that last corner over there. Start growing some trees. All right. Just do this. And do this here. Oh yeah, and there's also the controversies with the Minecraft mob votes and stuff. I think having more features, like more monsters, creatures, is just a net positive for the game. So having things that make Minecraft world feel more alive and saying, oh, we're only going to add 1 of these, the rest will never be implemented. It's kind of a cop-out. Why not have more things? I know it takes a lot of development time. Mojang has to be really careful with how they implement things, but there's got to be a happy medium here. Okay, I'll let those grow for a bit. Actually, no, we're not going to let them grow for a bit. We're going to grow them right now. Why have later what you can make happen now? We're just going to get some wood so we can make some things. Grow back our trees. We're going to make a crook. Which will help us get our silkworms that we need. Alright, so we're just going to go right over here. We'll take our wood, just going to craft it all up. We'll just do that. So a crook is made like this, but we are going to make 4. If we take those crooks, we can craft a compressed crook, which is much more efficient. So let's take this guy. So we're getting more saplings. here. We get one of our... Ah, here we are. Silkworm. It's a little guy. He's going to do a lot of work. Screw up these trees again. Okay, so that's how it works. You slap them on a leaf. Leaves become infested. Eventually, they will become vested leaves, which will be nice and white. And if you use a cork on those, you get yet more silkworms, and more importantly, string. Right, let's cut down this tree. Or if you're a real tough guy, what you can do is you can just make a mob farm, but I think this is a more efficient, time-saving way to get string. Yep, it's 41. It's got a little bit more cobblestone. Check out our book. Alright, made a crook, made slabs. Right, made clay. Ah, yes. So, if you hammer cobblestone, you get gravel. If you hammer gravel, you get sand. If you hammer sand, you get dust. And if you put dust in a barrel filled with water, you can transport it over with bottles, or in this case, we have a nice amount of rain, so we can just put the sand in here. We have clay. We're going to need a lot of this guy later. But for now, I'm going to just get some sand, I think. Let's see. Let's get a little bit of as well. Some more charcoal going. But it should also be noted that infested leaves do not drop saplings. So if you're playing this along with me, make sure you have a nice supply of saplings box over here. Otherwise, you might be in for a dead-end run. I suppose it doesn't have to necessarily be dead-end, as long as you're really conservative with your wood, but ideally you don't want to have to be. Put our sapling down here. Okay, let's see, we have clay. So next up, we should probably start working on making a coke oven. So let's check the recipe here. Coke up. So it's a multi-block structure. You need to make it in a 3x3x3. So basically a big cube, but leave the middle hollow. To do that, we're going to need a bunch of gravel, sand. Sorry, we're going to need a bunch of sand and bricks. So we're going to need to hammer out a bunch of gravel while we work on that. Won't quite cut away just yet because there's still a bunch of stuff left to do. I'll be hopping between tasks. But eventually, we will have a method of acquiring cobblestone so that we don't have to break every individual block. We'll be able to just have it just generate cobblestone automatically for us, which will help out quite a lot. Fortunately, it does not need any energy or power. It just needs a handful of kind of hard to get resources. Oh yeah. So with the coke oven, as I mentioned earlier, we will be able to acquire great number of, well, not a great number, but like, we'll be able to acquire coal coke, and more importantly, creosote oil. So coal coke, it's like coal's older brother. It's much more efficient, burns for longer, but creosote oil will let us create treated wood. So treated wood. Here we got treated wood planks. So we just need a bottle of creosote oil surrounded by a bunch of wood planks. Make that. We use this for a bunch of stuff from immersive engineering, but yet more importantly, we can make treated wood sticks, which are used to make forge hammer, which we use to hammer out plates. And with 3 plates, we at last can make a bucket. Please, please, save your excitement. That bucket, we can make a water source block, so we can have an infinite amount of water instead of just this one block. We can also work on getting an infinite amount of lava as well. Looks like our these are infesting quite nicely. Let's see, do I have any? Yeah, we have plenty of that left. Alright, looks like these are infesting quite quickly. I'm going to time skip a little bit for when I have a bunch of gravel and when the leaves are fully infested. So I will see you then. And I'm back. So during the cut, I gathered up a bunch of gravel, hammered that into sand, but I also encountered a new friend, this chicken. So whenever you break something with the chicken stick, there's a small chance to spawn a chicken. And if you ever happen to lose your chicken stick, say if you drop it off the edge, what you can do is you can kill a chicken with a stick. But do be warned, it's quite dangerous, as the chicken will try to attack you, and it's a lot more frightening than it sounds, I promise you. But also, our infested leaves are just about ready to harvest. So fortunately, they're really quick to break. Getting a bunch of string. So this string, you're able to make something called a sieve. Which, if any of you have played Skyblock before, you know exactly what that entails. But for those unenlightened, a sieve is a block you can process other blocks, such as gravel, sand, or dust, to get resources. And it is this core loop that most of the resources in Skyblock comes from. Having to sieve out ores, diamonds, etc. Even seeds from the sieve. And different types of blocks have their own item pools or item tables. So for example, sieving gravel will give you crushed ore, which you can craft and smelt, or you can hammer those down to get potentially more yield from a hammer. Well, there's our crook, where if you sieve something like dirt, you are likely to get seeds. Just how you get basic crops like potatoes, carrots, wheat. But some crops you can't get from a sieve. You'll have to crossbreed them with agricraft, but that's for another episode. Right now, we just want to get all this tasty, tasty string. So we're getting quite a lot, too. Almost at a stack and a half. Yeah, fortunately, this isn't something you regularly have to do. So we're almost there. Let's get this wood, too. Oh, yes, you can also take these silkworms and then cook them up and eat them into cooked silkworms. Which I don't know how appetizing that would be in real life, but if you in dire need, Skyblock, I'm sure you can survive off of that. But fortunately, if you just keep harvesting these oak trees, you should have plenty of apples. After all, you're not going around draining a bunch of hunger. Although I do have a story about hunger in Minecraft. On a multiplayer server I played on many years ago, they had custom fantasy races of sorts. Each had their own power, and the plant one could restore their hunger bar once every 10 minutes. It was my bright idea, saying like, oh, I can save up so much inventory and farming and stuff if I figure out how to stretch my hunger for 10 minutes. So I actually did the research, looked into all the different things that affect hunger, and I eventually started like playing like a monk, and I could stretch my hunger out for well over 10 minutes, upwards of 30 to 45 without it ticking down. But the want to impart some of my wisdom to your gameplay. What you can do is jump as little as possible, keep a steady walking pace, avoid combat, because regenerating hearts is the fastest way to drain your hunger. Slab up things, put stairs in. Mining drains your hunger, but not nearly as much as you would think. So just mainly like walk around, use slabs to get up on things, avoid combat, and you can be genuinely surprised at how far your hunger will stretch out. Alright, enough stalling, let's make this sieve. So we're going to make two different types. So first we need to make some silk mesh, which is just made by 9 string, like so. So we're going to use 2 for the regular sieve. And we need about 2 more silk meshes. Okay, if you take silk mesh like this, you can make heavy silk mesh. Let's first start with this. And ta-da! Our first oak sieve. And if we take this, we'll have a heavy oak sieve. So the main difference between these guys is you can sieve out gravel like normal here, but you'll get 1 item drop. But if you were to take nine gravel and compress it here, you can't put it in here, but it will go in the heavy sieve. Click that a whole bunch. it gives you 4 item drops. Sorry, gives you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 item drops. So notice how we got not 9 item drops from the heavy sieve, even though we're using 9 gravel. So this is a little bit inefficient on resources, but it does go by much faster than an oak sieve. I think push comes to shove, if I'm doing it by hand, I'll probably tend to prefer the heavy oak sieve. Okay. With that, we have unlocked our next step in progression, and I think this is a good place to call the episode. Join us next time, where we will be starting to sieve our gravel and working towards our coke oven so we can make our first bucket. Thank you.